أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم. Since a couple of weeks we are discussing evolution, and we had reached the stage of biotic evolution, from cosmic evolution to biotic evolution. And today we'll inshallah continue with that, continue discussing the biotic evolution. And we are discussing wherever possible, we are trying to find some clues from pointations from Quran also. And I may clarify that we are not translating from Quran. The facts given in the Quran are eternal, and the theories in science, they keep changing, and there are different opinions on the theories. So it's not safe to translate the Quran in the light of the ever-changing theories, but we simply try to understand that these are the pointations or clues, or these are the points which lead to understand. And it has been seen that the understanding of science uh, helps understand the Quran, because most of the time in Quran we find that Allah Himself is inviting attention to the scientific phenomena. And if we don't understand one thing today, we may understand it tomorrow. So let the fact of the Quran may be read as given in the Quran, and at the same time try to understand the scientific theories and the progress which is being made in that respect. And the theories keep on changing, progressing. Last time we had left the discussion at the point that animal cloning is going on, and human cloning has also started. It is in progress. In some countries, it is banned. In some countries, it is allowed, and there are certain regulations, but there is no complete regulation. There are a lot of questions, particularly moral, ethical questions, which need to be addressed. So now coming back to the topic, evolutionary creation, khalaqa. The word used in Quran, khalaqa, refers to the evolutionary creation. The creation which is outside this evolutionary process, that Allah has all the power to create anything, anytime, and He is also Qadir over everything. There, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses different terms. For example, He says kun and fayakun. But when we are talking of the process of khalaq, it is evolutionary creation. It includes measuring, estimating, measuring, calculating. All the things are created by calculation. Last time we had seen that the creation of the entire universe from the singularity is so precise that now human beings have been able only to see that the calculations could go up to attosecond, which is billion multiplied by billion multiplied by million, and that is the part of the second, the quintillionth part of the second. It means 18 zeros, but the scientists believe that they can go up to 44 zeros. So the precision was to that extent. So it is Behusmanen. It is precisely, extremely precisely measured, and then fitting into the scheme. Everything, anything which has been created, whether it is mosquito, whether it is atom, whether it is any frequency, any subparticle, it is in harmony with the entire creation, That is, it fits into the scheme. Nothing is created which was not needed, and there is nothing which needs to be created or has to be created, and it is not created. And everything is befitting, even the heavens, seven heavens, they are serially befitting. They work out. They are in harmony, and their laws are working in harmony. And ultimately, all these laws are working together under one law, because there is one lawgiver. Now, the scientists are working on the theory of unification, a unification of laws, and they sometimes call it the theory of everything. Now, this theory has in fact got momentum. This work on this theory has got momentum after the theory of strings, and the theory that the entire universe is made of membranes. We say seven membranes. You can say seven heavens, but they say membranes. They don't give the number. They say it is made of membranes. And the thing which they call membrane, that membrane is in width, in thickness. In thickness, it is billions of light years. It is so enormous, so huge, that even such a thick thing, big thing, they call it a membrane. And there are certain ayat which give clue to these facts which we have discussed. And Quran also, well, in these ayat, for example, I'll just point out some, refer to some points that appropriately everything is balanced. Appropriately everything is mutually balanced. It is mutually in harmony. It is in harmony. And there are different translations, but they, for example, in one ayat, this ayat number 19 of ayat 15, Surah 15 says that the we have spread out and ordered the earth, even the earth itself, the planet, it is spread out, it is ordered in place, dahaha, at the appropriate place, in harmony with all other objects like the sun, the moon, other planets. So everything is in harmony, even the mountains and everything. These ayat point out towards these facts. Now, precision and protection. Let us see some example that how this precision is important. Otherwise, the universe could not have existed at all. Earth is inclined on the axis at 23.5 degrees. On the axis, the Earth is inclined. Even on its own axis, the Earth is inclined. For example, if it were inclined at 25 degrees, not 23.5, instead of 23.5, if it was inclined at 25 degrees, then the polar caps would melt in a few hundred years, unleashing floods. Just because of this difference of degree of its own inclination on its own axis, the ice from this earth would have vanished many, many millions of years ago. And if it happens today, for example, then in a few hundred years, in a couple of centuries, the entire ice from the poles will disappear. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that I have created a, a, a barrier between two bodies of water. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking of the whole two bodies of water on this earth. So what is the barrier between these two bodies? The barrier between these two bodies of water is the temperature. The water which is stored as ice on the mountains, for example, and the water which is stored as water in the oceans. and it runs through the rivers. It is stored in the lakes, and in between it is intermingled, maraj. It is intermingled. There is vapor. If the temperature varies, for example, the current temperature, as it is going on, it is creating a cycle. If the temperature rises within the parameters, within the limits as we are living today, since millions of years, the ice melts, the water goes into the ocean, melts down through the rivers, goes into lakes and into the oceans. But if the temperature rises, the same water from the oceans, it becomes vapor, it becomes clouds, it moves towards the uh, mountains, and it freezes there. So this cycle, which is maintained by the temperature, doesn't allow these two bodies of water, the sweet body of water and the saltish body of water, they don't meet. But if there is any difference in the temperature which will change the cycle, the entire body of water can be melted and come down to one side, or it can be frozen, it goes to the other side. So temperature is the barrier, and that is maintained. For example, one of the things is the axis of the earth on which the earth is rotating around the sun. If the slant was 22, say instead of 25 degrees, instead of 23.5 degrees, if the slant, the tilt in the axis of the earth is 22, not 23.5, it is 22, then the Arctic ice would invade the whole of Europe. Whole of Europe. It will drown. It will sunk. It will be sunk. It will sink. Spreading out and ordering of our earth, well, earth the haha at its own place, in a specific position and place, are precisely designed with with just the right mass and size. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned that I created the earth, I shaped it, I placed it in its proper position, and then I put around it with the rawasi, with the gravitational ropes, the gravitational forces which we can't see. In Earth's crust, the surface, in the Earth's crust, metals, minerals, etc., have been distributed and stored in places and at depths. At depths, this is very important. This the depth of every material which has been placed. For example, oil is placed at a certain 1,000 meters. Iron is placed at such and such place. There are certain metals which are placed at certain depths. Each depth has a relevance to the overall evolution on this earth. Oil became available when the engine was invented. Oil was always there. When the technology became available that we can go so deep. When we, for example, when we ride, we say, Alhamdulillah, Subhanallazi, Sakhara lana haza, Wama kunna lahu muqrineen, Karn. We had no control over these generations. The generations of people, the demographic generations, and the generations, the epochs of periods. Now, these they coincide with each other. It is not that the oil would become available today and the engine will be invented after 100 years. So there is a relevance in the placement of these things at a certain depth and in certain proportions. And all these things were created in 6 days. In 2 days, when the temperatures were very high, millions of degrees, the globes were made. And the next 4 days, Quran says that they were mixed together, and then the maish were placed at certain, at appropriate places, appropriate depths, in appropriate places, so that everything in the crust of the earth, crust, I'm talking about the crust of the earth, it is mixed and it is placed properly so that we can grow different similar crops in America and in India, because those things are available. Iron is available, magnesium is available in that mix, which was mixed in those 4 days. And these metals were created. And we'll come to the metals also when iron was created. We'll come to that also. They were properly mixed, they were properly placed set at the proper places at the proper depths. Everything was calculated and done in those 4 days. It is not just things were just thrown, that anything which was stored anywhere or which was stored at any other places. It's all by calculation. And the Quranic statements are seen that they are not in contradiction with the sciences according to technological requirements of each age and civilization, they become available. As the things grow and these are needed, for example, during the period of Dawud alayhi salam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him that appropriate technology. Post-harvest technology came during the period of Yusuf alayhi salam in the agriculture. So these are different things which are appearing at different times. In my Thursday talks, I had explained that how the industrial revolution, not the industrialization. I'm not talking of industrialization or industrial development, industrial revolution. How the industrial revolution took place in sequence. Which thing came after which thing? Industrial revolution and why it came at certain places. For example, I was talking about the earth, and here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about one earth, birth. After this process, after many processes, one earth, birth, zalika dahaha. It's not that the earth was dahaha before these processes. It is bad. It shows even in this one case that everything is coming in sequence, one after the other, one after the other. Same thing is about the mountains, same thing is about the animals, and same thing about the development, same thing is about the nuzul, that they develop and appear, they grow and appear, and the domestication which took place during millions of years, these things have appeared. Proportion, properties, temperatures of content in the core. Now we are going deeper into the earth after the crust. Now we are going down. Proportion, properties, temperatures of content in the core and mantle of the earth are also precisely calculated and controlled. And there is a precisely calculated, controlled production of electromagnetic forces. And if these electromagnetic forces were not there, not precisely calculated, sometimes when the sun flares, and last time we had seen that regularly the flip is taking place in the sun. The north becomes south and south becomes north, and it is regular. And there are sun flares, there are sun spots. Sun spews out a lot of lava which goes to thousands of miles, and then its impact comes to the earth, and that impact is balanced. It is resisted by the electromagnetic forces which are generated within the earth. And there are pointations in the Quran about these things. Distribution of waters. salts, and other vital substances, all present in perplexing proportions in scientific systems. For example, effects of radioactive substances in minerals in the springs, in the waters, in many lakes, at many places. For example, there are minerals in the water Zamzam, and it is running through that under the earth since thousands of years. But there are many other places where we find that these waters have not only minerals, but they also have certain radioactive substances also. They have radioactive substances. For example, if uranium was present exclusively as uranium-235, this is the isotope, the life cannot exist on the earth. The radiation would have been so much of the isotope 235. If it was only 235. But there is a proportion. That is why when the earth was Ratkan, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says Fataknahuma, and the scientists say that the four fundamental forces were released, in that strong nuclear forces and weak nuclear forces were also released. So there are not only strong nuclear forces, but there are weak nuclear forces also, and they are also under control. And the control is so enormous, the control panel is so strong, that even when the entire universe after the Big Bang was plasma, when it was plasma, even then Allah's control was there. His arsh was there on that plasma, on that which ma, it was there. If uranium had not been present in uranium-238 in the proportion of 0.7%, we could not have obtained atomic energy. If it was not 0.7%, if the ratio was different, we cannot have atomic energy. God has invested uranium-235 with such a characteristic that it can be converted to nuclear power only when it is separated, when 35 and 38, 235 and 238 are separated, and does not pose danger in its natural matrix of uranium-238. It is not dangerous when it is 238. When the isotope 235 is separated 0.7% in the ratio, then it gives energy. It is dangerous. Many biological events would not take place but for the presence of carbon. Which carbon? This carbon 14 in atmosphere. It is not all carbon. There are different types of carbon. Now, this is the point from where the organic evolution took place on this earth. When the turban became teen, the start of formation of teen, وَخَلَقَ الْإِنسَانَ مِنْ teen, the process of teen started with the creation of carbon, and not every type of carbon, but the carbon 14. Carbon 14. This is the point from where the teen, turban, after the inorganic material turban, and it became teen, when the carbon was created. Now, how it was created, we'll see that. But if its proportion of 1 part per million per ppm, 1 part per million was slightly more common, it would substitute a leather, it will constitute a leather hazard. If this changes, if it was not there, if this ratio, its ratio changes, then it will become fatter. The life will end on this earth. It is such a precise prescription. Otherwise, this teen will become leather. If sodium 24, or not all sodium, but sodium 24, like uranium 235, carbon 14, sodium 24, it is isotope. If sodium 24 isotope were present in mineral spring in water, taking a bath would have been equivalent to being present in Hiroshima when it was bombed. Just this one isotope, if it is present in the water in certain parts of the world, for example, in Karachi, in Mangopir, there are springs and they are saltish and they are hot also. They say there is certain isotope of sodium. If it becomes more, if it is different, then one will be damaged to the extent as if he had suffered from the bombing in Hiroshima. It will be so fatal, but it is precisely calculated. People go there, they take bath, and they particularly go there for the skin diseases, cure of the skin diseases. Mutate some microphones because somebody was sleeping. Although main substance in mineral springs is sodium, its isotopes other than 24 are predominant. And here I've given a quotation because I thought that maybe I'm giving a statement which needs support. Now, temperature and atmosphere have been fine-tuned to support life on Earth, unlike 63 major planets and satellites in our solar system. Here, the calculation is completely different from the calculation on other planets, temperature and atmosphere. For example, when we are on this Earth, you must have seen when you go to the doctor, he takes your different readings of uh, blood pressure while standing, while sleeping, while lying down, while sitting, and there are different readings. Similarly, there is a difference, but we don't feel it. There's a difference in the temperature at the feet in the environment and temperature at the head. In these 5 feet, 6 feet, 7 feet range, there is some very precise difference of temperature, but we don't feel it. It is almost as if there's no temperature. There's no temperature difference, as if we are harmonized. We can say in general terms that there's no temperature difference between the temperature at our feet and the temperature at our head. But on the Mars, at some places, on some planets, in this range of 6 feet, the temperature at the feet is freezing and the temperature at the head is boiling. Or at the feet, it is boiling, at the head, it is freezing. So this temperature, maintenance of this temperature on this earth, when we go into details and analyze, we find some clues in the Quran and we find that it is Wallah, Subhanallah, Subhanallah. One can only praise, but it is beyond human comprehension that how these calculations were done and now how these calculations are being maintained since billions of years. Similarly, water, the fundamental requirement of life, has been superbly cycled. I mentioned about the cycle and the barrier, which is the temperature. I'm not saying this today. I mentioned these things in my book, Know Your God, about 25 years back, and there are many references are given. Here I am speaking without references, but there references from the scientific journals and scientific books are given. The water is cycled, stored, distributed all over the globe. Temperature in universe. Temperatures in the universe vary from millions of degrees to absolute zero. And they are necessary at those points. And the way this range has been maintained is being maintained. It is being maintained. And at the same time, the universe is expanding. Atrophy is taking place. But still, the temperatures are maintained relatively in interrelationship on different planets and the stars, that the universe is still existing. The life is still surviving on the earth and at many other places in the universe. Thermal range and its management that allows life to exist is found on earth only. Till today, we know this. Maybe it is available at other places also. Distance between earth and sun is precisely determined. Since last 5 billion years, sun is burning. It is burning material. It is spreading out lava. It is coming out of the sun. When this lava, thousands of tons, is coming out from the sun every day, then its weight must change. And in relation, its gravitation and other relationships with other planets, with the planets and with other objects should change. And its temperatures must be felt differently over the period of time. But still, since billions of years, everything in relation, behusbanin, الشمس والقمر behusbanin, in interrelationship, in time, is changing and yet maintaining the balance. Distance between Earth and the Sun is precisely determined. Earth could not sustain life, it were as near to the Sun as Venus, for example, or as far as Jupiter. There will be no life. Carbon-based molecules can survive. Now, why life cannot exist? Because carbon. Why carbon? Because teen. Why teen? Because teen is the substance which sustains life. This is what Iblis said there, that you have created him from teen, and you have created me from energy, radiation. And this teen, the life on the teen, is sustained by carbon. Carbon-based molecules can survive only between 120 and minus 20 degrees centigrade in the environment. It is necessary for the teen. Earth is the only planet whose average temperatures fall within these limits, average temperatures. We are talking about the average temperatures. At the poles or above in the space, that's different. There the carbon changes. You see the ratio in the environment of the oxygen changes when you go to the mountains, and there is a problem in breathing. So if the ratio changes, as oxygen ratio changes, it is difficult to survive. Similarly, if the ratio changes in the teen, then it is difficult to survive. American geologists and other geologists now agree. They say life as we know it today is possible over a very narrow temperature interval. If the temperature interval is high between feet and head, if the temperature interval is high for the carbon, for the oxygen, for the environment, then the life cannot exist. Maintenance of thermal range, this ratio, this interval from feet to the head, for example, is also related to the amount of heat that the sun radiates. Since billions of years, it is radiating. It is not only Sirajan that it is giving light, it is giving photons, but it is Vahajan also that it is giving different types of radiations. Quran says that it is Vahajan also, and different amounts of heat are coming out with that radiation. Still, the life on earth is maintained because precisely every photon and every subparticle in the radiation is measured, is calculated. Not one photon is coming unnecessarily from the sun. Not one subparticle of radiation or vehicle is coming out from the sun which is not needed on the earth or which is under calculated or over calculated. Everything miskal zarratin. Why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is using the word miskal? Simply zarratan was enough, but miskal refers to the weight. When you break the atom, the number increases, the energy releases. But the only thing which is reduced by breaking the atom, you break the atom, you get protons, positrons, you get electrons. The difference in all these things, the energy increase. Well, we get a lot of energy. For example, in numbers, we get more numbers. Instead of one atom, we get more numbers of electrons, positrons, protons. But the only thing which is changing is the weight of these things. And as we break, we get a lesser weight. As we break, we get a lesser weight. So there, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is using the word miskal, weight, zarratin, the weight of the zarra. It's not atom, it's any zarra. Zarra is just, we can say particle, subparticle, or anything in that category. But its weight is changing. Maintenance of this thermal range is also related to the amount of heat that the sun radiates. Small variations on either side can wipe out the earth, wipe out the life from the earth. If it increases, now this year, 2023, there was an increase of 23 degrees, 2 degrees. Main reason was the climate change. It is slowly and gradually increasing because of the ozone hole. But there was another change also because the flip took place on the sun. Its north became south and south became north, and it happens after 11 years. And we have very calculated periods of drought. There was a 7 years period of drought in Egypt, and that continues in Pakistan, everywhere. There is a calculated period of drought. Not only that temperature should be ideal, but heat must also be distributed fairly, equally over the planet. It's not that when the sun gives out a sunspot, when sunspot appears and sun gives out a sun flare, lava, it is spewed into the space. It spreads according to calculation. It does not come to one planet in like an arrow. If it moves towards one planet as an arrow, the entire planet will be burned to ashes. It is so hot, so strong, so powerful, but it splits. And ultimately, what we receive different types of radiations, and electromagnetic ionic sphere of the earth balances them. There are 7 layers of protection around the earth. They balance them. And the part which is Sirajan, which comes as light, photons, they are also harmonious. And we receive light evenly distributed around the globe. In order to ensure this, Earth's axis is inclined at 23 degrees to 23 degrees. 0.27 to the plane of the ecliptic. In the beginning, which I said, we roughly say 23.5, but there's a precise calculation. It is not exactly 23.5. This inclination prevents overheating of atmosphere in regions between poles and equator, making them more temperate. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says you cannot count, you cannot find a number for the ni'mat which I have given you, for the anam I have given you. You cannot find a number. It's not only the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said it, that you can't count. It's not just by counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we go to millions, trillions. Impossible. We cannot. But we cannot even find a number in the computer. For example, the prime number or the last number. We cannot find a number that how many favors of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are there, making them more temperate. If this calculation if this inclination did not exist, we are talking about the inclination of 23.5, the temperature gradient between the poles and the equator would be much higher. There is a balance of temperature between the poles and the equator. If that is disturbed, 2 years back, 3 years back, we saw the unexpected snowfall in Texas, in Houston. Thus, many factors, for example, distance between Earth and Sun, rotational speed, inclination of axis, geographical features, and so many other features, all combine to distribute heat as needed and maintain the right temperature. Who can do this? Which machine can calculate this? Which computer can control this? Who can do this? Who is controlling this? Whose arsh is there? Who is the creator? And all these things, pointations to these are given in the Quran. After Big Bang, from inorganic material to organic material, I mentioned that with the creation, we moved from inorganic material from turabun to tinun. Now this biotic evolution is progressing. If we deny the theory of evolution, then we have to deny everything, that no, carbon was not created. No, teen was not evolved. No, carbon was not evolved. Teen was not evolved. Now we are going from turabun to teenan, and we'll see how the carbon was created. Do not those disbelieve, do not those who disbelieve see that the heavens and the earth were joined. I mentioned that, and then this evolution took place. Dr. Nurbaki thinks that above us, this Ratkan Fafataknahma and 42 and 5 of 42 are mutually explanatory. The latter is also given below. This 42, this one is Ratkan Fafataknahma, and the other one I'm giving here is translation. The heavens are almost rent asunder. They are in tension. There is surface tension, for example. Between these planets, there are Rossi, there are gravitational forces, and they are pulled to the last maximum extent, to the most calculated extent. They are in full tension, as if a small calculation, billionth of the billionth of any calculation is changed, then they will break up. Or if there's a relaxation to the billionth of a part, they will break up. They are so tense. The heavens are almost rent asunder from above them, and the angels, the forces of nature, celebrate in their action, in their work. They celebrate the praises of their Lord. They work so finely, with such a refined calculation. That subhanallah, as they work in protection, they are working for the protection of this universe. They are working for the protection of this earth. Ghafar, for all beings on earth. Behold, verily, Allah is He, the oft protecting, forgiving. The translation has been given as forgiving. It is oft protecting and most merciful. That is why He has created these systems. Latest discussions on the theory of Big Bang show, because the theory is changing, that the latest discussions show that it was not an explosion. It was not an implosion. The forces were peeled off. Show that at that point in time, temperature was extremely enormous and cooling rate was also too high because the universe was expanding. The Musun, Quran says it was expanding. The expansion theory of Hubble, it was expanding. Time span of 6 days has been mentioned in the Quran at different places with reference to initiation, creation, setting process. In these 6 days, these things are mentioned together because precisely it is so fast, trillionth of a second. So we cannot say that the creation came after initiation or setting came after that. So I have used these three words together: initiation, creation, and setting, as if they were so fast that as if they were taking place together. In Columbia University, they conducted an experiment to transport the proton, that is, to transport the material, as matter as matter, above the speed of light. The speed of light is 300 kilometers per second, but they wanted to transport the proton in a cesium tube at a higher speed, at a much higher speed, at millions of miles per second. And they did it. And one of the observations, one of the scientists has written, as if the proton was moved, came out before it entered the cesium tube. So here, that is why I have used these three words together: the initiation, creation, and setting. Processes of different planes, as different planes and objects of this universe were taking place at the same time, as if, although they were in series, they were in serial order. For example, the setting of the globes came afterwards, after the creation, after the globes were made. The globes were made after the initiation had taken place. But it was so quick that it completed in 2 days. The initiation, creation, setting processes, they took 2 days to create this system, which has been mentioned in Surah Ar-Rahman also. After the primordial mass was rent asunder, the resultant extremely hot plasma, the cooling at enormous rate. It was cooling at the enormous rate, originating basic materials, which was to form celestial systems, heavens, globes between them, all completed in 2 days, was churned out and splintered, dotting, designing, and making matrix of megaverse in time span of 6 days. The globes were made and the mixing took place in 6 days because of the speed and because of the rate, because of the temperature. Plasma is, in cosmology, plasma is one of our four fundamental states of matter. I mentioned to plasma, here it is defined. If there is any question, I'll try to explain that. It is a soup of charged particles, that is ions or electrons. When the Big Bang took place, When the forces were peeled off, the electrons came out, electromagnetic forces came out. They were in the form of ions. And that was the plasma. Plasma was a content was made of ions. That is Ma. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls it Ma. And Ma was under his control, under his arsh. During first few 100,000 years. Now after 6 days, when this is set, then other processes started. During first few 100,000 years, thousands of years, millions of years, after Big Bang, our universe was extremely hot and dense as plasma, even for those hundreds of years. It was, the earth was cooling off. Until today, it is cooling. Inside the earth, there is mantle, it is hot, it is lava. It is cooling off slowly. Electric universe model. This is another model. This is a theory within theory. It is a theory within Big Bang theory. If you like, I can just quickly mention this. This is called electric universe model. When we are discussing plasma, this is, I may again point out, this is just a theory within theory. Much of astronomical phenomena in universe is driven by electrical interactions rather than gravitational ones. The scientists now some of the scientists say that initially when the Big Bang took place, when this Fatakna, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, took place, then they say that it was mainly the electromagnetic forces that shaped this universe, not the gravitational forces. They played their part. It's not that they were absent. They played their part, but most important part was played by the electrical forces. And then the plasma with this electric and magnetic forces has done more to organize matter in the universe. They say this plasma, this Ma was organized under the control of the Arsh. It was organized into matter as we find it today in the universe, into stars, systems, into other large structures, into galaxies, mainly because of the electrical forces, electromagnetic forces. They call it electromagnetic forces, not only the gravitational forces. And this appeals to sense. Further processes for solidification after millions of years. This process is continuing. It took millions of years, the solidification of the crust of the earth. The crust of the earth is solidified, mountains which appear above this. They are solidified. But inside the earth, it is still, the mantle is still, the core is still lava. It is still burning. It is lava. Further process of solidification is fashioning. There is a specific shape of the earth. There's a specific shape of the Pluto. All these are not just round or circular. Every planet in its place and orbit has a particular, specific, required shape and design. Solidification, fashioning. I'll just complete in a few seconds because with this, I'll complete the explanation of today. Fashioning, that is cosmic evolution, including landscaping. In this period took place landscaping, chemical and organic processes. I'm not talking about the appearance of the trees, appearing of the shrubs, the botany, the zoology, that will come afterwards. But this is landscaping. Landscaping, chemical and organic processes leading to biological evolution, because the stage is being prepared for the appearance of the carbon. So much was required, so much arrangements were to be made for the appearance of carbon. Biological evolution, however, took billions of years. It took billions of years. Here I stop, and next time we'll start with this verse and this reference from Stephen Hawking. Uh, uh, Stopping here. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.
اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه. اللهم اهدنا فيمن هديت، وعافنا فيمن عافيت، وتولنا فيمن توليت، وبارك اللهم لنا فيما أعطيت، وقنا واصرف عنا شر ما قضيت. اللهم ادخلنا برحمتك في عبادك الصالحين. اللهم اخرجنا من ظلمات الجهل والوهم إلى نور العلم. اللهم اجعلنا ممن يستمعون القول فيتبعون أحسنه. اللهم اكفنا بحلالك عن حرامك، وبطاعتك عن معصيتك، وفضلك عن من سواك. اللهم فضلك ورحمتك أعلى كلمة الحق والدين. اللهم انصر الإسلام وعز المسلمين يا أكرم الأكرمين. Oh Allah, spread your mercy upon us, shower us with your blessings, increase our knowledge, grant us forgiveness, and reward us with the company of the prophets in the Firdaus al-A'la. Oh Allah, forgive our parents and all our friends and relatives who have passed away. Oh Allah, make their graves garden from heaven and grant them the Firdaus al-A'la. Oh Allah, we have many of our friends and relatives who are sick. We have our son Ma'raj, our daughter Aisha Wani. Oh Allah, grant them full and speedy recovery. Oh Allah, guide our children, protect them, and make them righteous. O Allah, we ask with every name you have elected for yourself, that none of us leave this gathering, but his pains have been relieved, his worries have been removed, his debts have been paid, his weaknesses have been concealed, his sins have been forgiven, and his needs have been fulfilled. سبحان الله وبحمده عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه ومداد كلماته. سبحان الله وبحمده عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه ومداد كلماته. سبحان الله وبحمده عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه ومداد كلماته. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على خير المرسلين. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه، والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.